Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Tuesday day early comic review show. I'm Jason,
I'm Andy.
and we're with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Every single week on Tuesday, Andy and I, when we're done getting all the comics ready, we sit down and we read some of the best and hottest issues, and then we do this little show. It's a spoiler review show, so we're going to tell you about all these issues. We'll mention major things as far as
Mhm.
like first appearances, and there's a major death, but we won't ruin the read for you.
Yeah,
That's sort of the point of the show. So a lot of good books out this week.
yeah. Now that we're post DC Future State, we're getting into what's next for them.
Yeah, a lot of new teams on the DC books.
Hmm.
A lot of good indie books coming out.
Yep.
As you can see, we got a few of them sitting here. And then, of course, King in Black is sort of winding down from Marvel, but with some stories still to tell.
The King in Black wind down is like 30 issues long. It's the slowest like build up and wind down because it's such a big event.
Okay, so why don't you start, Andy?
I will start with Justice League. I keep wanting to say Justice League number 1, but no, this is
Was it
Justice League
59?
59. We did not even wait for 60. It's like, we don't care. We're starting right here. So, this is from the new creative team of Brian Michael Bendis and David Marquez. And it definitely could have been a number 1. I kind of respect them for not doing the number 1 thing. Sometimes
Right.
it's a cheap ploy to get people to jump on. Um, but what's fun about this is I also feel like not putting a number 1 kind of leads into the story, which begins with a kind of commentary from Green Arrow, which a lot of people have been really jonesing to see Green Arrow back and stuff. Hasn't made an appearance in quite a while.
Right.
And he's kind of talking about the Justice League and what they mean and what their job is. Now, Green Arrow's always kind of been the kind of devil's advocate to the entire Justice League. Like he'll kind of push the boundaries and everything. But he brings up a really good point, and he basically says, we've been doing this a long time. This team, this Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, who's not here,
Right.
but Aquaman, everything. And he says sometimes it becomes basically an echo chamber. Like we've been together so long, maybe we should get some new
Get
voices
some
in
new
here.
people in there.
And so that's kind of I feel like the call for this series is let's bring some new voices into the Justice League. Um, the other part of the story is, of course, this creature, this man comes from either another planet or another dimension and is stopped not by the Justice League but by Black Adam, who, of course, is traditionally a villain.
Right.
But I feel like Bendis does a great job here at making him kind of a reluctant ally, especially the way he interacts with Superman.
Hmm.
Because Superman, of course, you would have some people who would just be like, "There's Black Adam, I gotta go punch him."
Right.
Superman's like, he didn't do anything, so for right now, we both have a mutual enemy, and just the kind of respect that Superman gives Black Adam, and then he kind of gives it in return.
Hmm.
You definitely get that feeling of like Black Adam's not a bad guy. He just has his own people
Right.
that he's watching out for, which I really like. It's a very Aquaman thing too. It's like I'm watching my people, don't get in the way. But that's another voice they're bringing in here. The other big voice that they are hint at bringing in is Naomi,
Right.
which of course she's on the cover, and this thing that shows up, this alien multidimensional guy, is from wherever she's from. So of course they need to find out some stuff about that. Um, I really liked it. I think it's a very interesting for a kind of first issue from a creative team that is not just an all-out slugfest. It's not crazy. It's actually pretty, I'd say, even,
Hmm.
but in a good way. Of like, let's let the characters really like let's figure out what the characters are currently feeling. I really like this. I'm really interested to see where this goes. I love the new characters that are in it, especially
Very,
Black Adam.
very different Justice League team.
Yeah, but a very like natural progression of Justice League.
And
Like,
Bendis created Naomi,
yes,
and lately it's been announced that she's getting what, a TV show, is it?
yes,
So that's a pretty big deal. And so now
right.
that he's on the book, he's like, let me bring my character in. So who best to, write her than the
Yeah,
creator? And so now they're going to have a villain, I think, in issue number 2.
Yeah, he's the one that shows up in this one that's
Okay.
like related somehow to her and where she's from.
So a major villain, and
Yeah,
he could end up on the show then.
Yeah,
too.
for sure. I feel like
Yeah.
there's still Naomi's still, even though she's had one mini series before this, it's still a character they're definitely still exploring and still building up her mythos.
Yeah, because at the end of her series, she was only just then learning what her powers were
Right.
and everything. So
the other thing I want to mention about this book is there is a backup story, which is Justice League Dark. So the main Justice League Dark series is over, but it's kind of been put at the end of this, which don't count it out. This is still by Ram V, and it is really cool. Definitely focusing on Constantine and Zatanna, and a mysterious figure that comes up, and it looks like they're going after Excalibur, and their motivation seems to be, I'm going to pull this world, I'm going to help it get to what it's supposed to be, kicking and screaming. So kind of a self-justification of, I'm going to do what it takes to make this place better. But another great story, once you start reading the Justice League Dark story, it's like, oh, this is just another book, and this is great. So, really good. Definitely recommend. Even if you're not the hugest Bendis fan, which people go back and forth on, I feel like a team book like this is really good. I liked his Avengers and New Avengers back when he was writing that. I think he does a great job balancing characters and giving them all distinct voices.
Right.
But there's some really exciting variant covers for this. I should open this one ahead of time, but so we have the wraparound cover.
Yeah, they've been doing these on all the books as they've returned back from Future State.
Yeah, and this one's kind of it's got the Justice League on it, but it's got some characters that haven't been announced for being in Justice League, like Jon Stewart, some of the Teen Titans. But what Bendis did say about this series is this team is very malleable and it can change because sometimes a situation calls for certain characters. So I think it's cool that we may be getting some other people showing up. The others I wanted to show off are pretty exciting.
Interested in these?
Yeah. So we have the Snyder Cut variants. So as of recording this, the Snyder Cut of Justice League comes out in about 2 days on HBO Max.
It's dropping real soon.
So DC is doing these really cool variants. So we've got this one. It's got Steppenwolf and Cyborg and Batman on it. Then we have the one that's got Darkseid, Black Suit Superman, and Flash. This one, which is easily the hottest one out of them that people are clamoring for.
The one with the Martian Manhunter?
Manhunter, kind of first seeing him here before the movie with Aquaman and Wonder Woman.
That's so crazy. They cut his whole character out of the movie.
Yep. And so this one is by Jim Lee, too. And then we have a 1 in 25 black and white of the one with Steppenwolf on it. And we, at our store, are selling it for $25. So, really cool.
When you were talking about Justice League Dark, you brought up Excalibur. So, funny enough, I'm about to talk about Black Knight, Curse of the Ebony Blade. Of course, the Ebony Blade is not exactly Excalibur, but
it's still a mythical sword.
Correct, yeah. Arthurian myth, that is. So, this was a really good first issue. This is a 5-part series. This is a good reintroduction of the Black Knight for readers who don't really know who he is too well. So the Black Knight is Dane Whitman, and he is a very, very troubled hero. I'll tell you that straight out. In fact, half of the issue is him sort of talking to this counselor thing. I can't spoil what it is, but let's just say it is not the right thing to be talking to. So as he's telling about how he's troubled, even the manner he's doing it's like a normal person wouldn't be doing it this way. The other half of the issue is the Avengers have called him for some help, and he shows up, and he's so happy to be back with the Avengers for a minute. They hate him. Like, it was pretty funny seeing how all the different Avengers don't like him and why they don't like him. And a lot of it is because he's such a troubled person. There's a part where Thor is like literally dissing on him, and making fun of his weapon. And Thor tries to take his weapon, and it doesn't go that well. And Thor's like, "Hey, what in the heck? I thought I was powerful. Why am I having trouble with this?" And of course, the Black Knight's like, "Well, my sword, what does he say? Something about it getting lighter in the shade or in the shadow, meaning, the darkness within him
Mm-hmm.
is part of its power." So I think of the Dark Knight, he's a very true anti-hero, and not in the way that anti-heroes are willing to kill people, even though he is. It's more that for his powers to work, he has to be troubled.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting, and they're not just like mentioning it. You can tell that's what this five-parter is all about. Like, how
Mm-hmm.
can that work? Is he a hero? Will he be able to overcome that? So that was sort of it. There's a lot of humor to it. They've updated a lot. Um, and by update, I mean they don't forget that the internet's around now. This guy's sort of got all this Arthurian legend behind him. Well, how does that fit into our world now?
Yeah.
Not back when they wrote him, in the 70s or whatever. So we got several variants for this. The first is the beautiful Peach Momoko variant. The next one is the Ron Lim variant. Ron Lim's still putting out some great covers.
Yeah.
To be that talented, and for all
Been
these
working
years,
for years.
all these years, yeah. Then this is the Stormbreakers variant by Juan Cabal. The Stormbreakers variants, of course, display just sort of newer artists to Marvel. And this is it's the Todd Nuck Too Close headshot variant. You get to stare into those.
He's not taking any junk from you. He's
Those
giving you that eye.
doe-like brown eyes. And here is
Oh, that one's awesome. I
the
haven't seen
1
that
in
one yet.
25 Stephanie Hans variant.
That's the other Black Knight, the kind of more classic one.
Yeah, this cover was not released before we had to order.
Mm-hmm.
But we know Stephanie Hans is awesome, so we got it. We're selling it locally and to people who have pull boxes with us for $40. But we like to make everybody aware, wherever you shop, of what
Mm-hmm.
covers you might want to look for out in the wild or at your store. So
awesome. So next, I want to talk about this crazy, awesome book, Ultramega.
Yeah.
This is a big book. This is 60 pages. It's by artist, now writer, James Herron, who worked on BPRD. He did the book Rumble for Dark Horse, or Rumbles for Image, BPRD for Dark Horse. This is his new Image series that is very reminiscent, almost not parody, but they're not hiding it. That's like Ultraman.
Yeah,
it's called Ultramega.
In the title, right there.
Like his look, he's got the fin, he's got the eyes. He's pretty much a kind of
Like an analog.
An analog, yeah. So this is it's really fun. It is super violent, but in a almost invincible type of way, where it's lighthearted enough that it doesn't feel grisly.
Right.
But it follows this character, this man who is basically summoned in a dream by this protector, this cosmic entity. It's basically like, we need you to take on the power of the Ultramega. There's a virus that's spreading that turns people into monsters, and you're going to be the one to stop it. And this guy's response is, okay. And
very easygoing.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, I think I would say that.
Yeah,
I might say
okay.
okay. But...
He's just like, okay. So he's imbued with these powers that are pretty much the same as Ultraman. He can grow giant to fight these huge monsters. But it's not as seamless as you might think. What happens when he fights and then he goes back to being small, and it doesn't all go at the same time. So he maybe is stuck with a giant head for a little bit. And so you've got this guy who just looks like a kind of a schlub. He's got, red hair, a mustache, and he's just like, since his suit broke, he's just kind of naked leaning up against a payphone calling his wife with a giant head. So it's really funny. It's got that good sense of humor. The monster design is awesome. James Herron has a great take on very unique monster designs. Um, but there's also there's been some other wielders of this ultra mega power that have not ended great. So it kind of gives you a recap of like what's happened to the previous ones, and it's pretty rough. So this isn't like a super great thing you want to happen to you. The populace knows about Ultramega. I'm not sure yet if they know it's like been different people,
Huh.
but it's like, oh yeah, well, let's see how long this one lasts or whatever.
It'll be interesting to find out how they choose the next one.
Yeah, because it feels kind of random, like we just picked you or whatever. Uh, but it had a pretty big twist at the end. There's of course, a big monster fight. Some crazy stuff goes down, and then there's a twist that I did not see coming for a book like this. I'm not gonna give away. You'll have to check it out. But I mean, it's 60 pages,
Wow.
so you get. I was feeling towards the end. I'm like, this feels like, is this a one shot? Like, it feels like this story is like coming to a close. In a way, it does. In a way, it does kind of cap off, but then it is ongoing, so there's going to be more to it.
That's nice. I mean, too many comics begin, and you're like, I just needed more than this.
Yeah.
Like it just.
This
isn't
one, I
enough.
feel like you get so much of the character, the world, the powers. It's not waiting to the last page for him to turn into this. It's within the first like 5 pages that he is fighting a giant monster, knocking down buildings in a city.
Yeah, 60 pages. That sounds like sort of a passion project.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that it was a something that he was really excited to do. It's definitely, I would say, art driven, just from him being such a good artist. There's more art than words in this, but you won't be disappointed if you like that kind of thing, that kind of over the top action, just monsters, all of that. It is so good for that. So definitely check out Ultramega. I think you'll really like it, and I'm really excited to see where it goes next because it's such a crazy premise when you get into it. Let's see, there is a few variant covers. So this one is by Trad Moore of Luther Strode fame, and you can see there is also a green Ultramega and kind of a brownish maroon Ultramega. Those do make an appearance in this, and well, yeah, it's a little rough. It's a little rough for them. I won't say what happens, but really cool that they're actually on the cover of this one. And then we have of course, the blank sketch variant. Get an artist to draw a giant monster fight on there. Then we have this is a 1 in 10 variant, which is like a black and white sketch of the A cover. Really nice. And then we have.
Did we say what we're selling that for locally?
Locally, the 1 in 10 is 25.
Okay.
And then we have a 1 in 5, which is of the Tradmore variant, that we are selling for 12. So definitely check this one out. I think it's $7.99 for the
regular.
For the regular. But I mean, for 60 pages, you're getting so much.
Yeah, they're getting your graphic novel.
Yeah, you're getting this is like a little graphic novel, so really fun. I
also read a very cool indie book that I was really looking forward to reading. It is James Stokos' Orphan and the Five Beasts. So everybody around here knows I'm a big kung fu movie fan and buff, and so when I saw this, when it was announced, I was already a fan of James Stokos' stuff. I mean, his art, it is beautiful, but it's sort of that beautiful kind of madness, if you're into that. I mean, this is a good representation of the interior art. In fact, there were a lot of interior pages I liked a lot better than this.
Like you could have taken on the interior pages and made a cover.
Yeah, so if you like this style art, it is probably for you. If you like kung fu stuff, it's probably for you. But if you don't like those things, it's probably not for you. So the story has this character named Mo, who is presumably an orphan. Mo is staying with this Grand Master, who is presumably, a great kung fu master. And the master basically tells Mo one day, hey, guess what? it's my last day, and I got to tell you some things. This is going to be the last things I ever tell you. I hope nobody ever says this to me.
Yeah.
Although I hope to do that to someone at some point. But then you know they're really listening. So he tells Mo that he had these 5 past students that he had to imbue with these great powers. Each one has a different sort of power. You don't know what they are. It's not revealed yet. So some of the fun of reading this is meeting these characters and seeing the powers. He had to give them these powers because there was this great evil devil that even he couldn't defeat. So he brought them together, trained them. They beat the devil, but after that, their power kind of corrupted them, and they made a deal to stay away. Well, anyway, they're coming back. They've turned evil. They're coming back, and the master says, "Mo, guess what? You have to pay for my past sins of training these people. Sorry.
What a jerk.
I hope I've trained you enough. Goodbye." Mo is tough though. Mo doesn't whine about it, complain. He just kind of heads off to go find the 5 people before whatever they do. I will say you do meet the first one of them.
Is it the one that I saw?
Yes, I had to show Andy one of the characters.
Such a good character.
Yeah, and this seems really serious, but it also has some crazy humor to it as well. Some like really, I mean, I laughed out loud when I met the first main villain, and when you see his powers, it's definitely on the level of kung fu. It's not necessarily like the wizard stuff, at least yet. I bet one of them will be that way, but it's definitely really outrageous. I mean, in kung fu movies, there's all kinds of powers, and he went to the far side of one. So it was really cool. I'm looking forward to the rest of them. So this is a 4-part series. And there is no B cover, so you don't have to worry about chasing all the variants. This is it. That is it.
Didn't he also do that Alien graphic novel?
Yeah, he did.
That was really popular.
All by himself. Yep.
Yeah, that's really cool. So next one I want to talk about is not a number 1. We still do have some more number 1s coming, but I wanted to mention this because I like the first issue so much. I wanted to make mention of issue 2, Radiant Black number 2. This is, of course, by Kyle Higgins. Previously had worked on Nightwing and Power Rangers. Just want to mention number 2 that this continues to be really good. A lot of character development. We know that the main character kind of got this weird black hole power thing that he found. And this issue is mostly him figuring it out, but also at the same time, it begins with like a conversation between him and his dad, and he's like, I think I finally found something that's going to be worthwhile and is going to mean something in the world. And his dad's like, great, do you know how much it pays? And he's like, well, it doesn't pay anything. He's like, but you still kind of got to find something that pays. So it's got really good humor. This is a big praise for me, saying it does remind me of Invincible, with the character interactions and the kind of the way the progression goes of like discovering these powers. But this does have what I would consider the first full appearance of a villain that I believe will be a big player in this. Who they're actually on the variant cover for this, but they're kind of primed to be the thing that is in a way teaches him about his powers, but also may be part of the big evil or the kind of the corruption of it too. So if you've read number 1 of Radiant Black, definitely want to keep going. Issue 2 is great as well. We have, I think, some of the first printing left, and they did that beautiful cover for the second printing.
Do they more solidify what the powers are exactly?
They're kind of powers that you could guess a little bit. They're still pretty basic. I don't think we've found out all like what the scale of it is.
No limitations set yet.
Right, okay. Which I really like, because I feel like a lot of times that's some of the fun part of a book, is being like, oh my gosh, they just did this thing.
Yeah.
And when you give that away right away, it loses some of the punch of the power creep that the character gets. We're dealing with that in here, where he has those moments of like, I'm going to try to block you. Oh, wow, I just did that way better than I thought I would. I didn't just go careening off. It's starting to work for me.
It's fun to discover that with the character.
Right,
As a reader.
Yeah, which is kind of my Invincible feeling with it, where he
Right.
was slowly learning like how powerful he really was. But I did want to show off the variant cover with the red. I keep want to say like a radiant black. He doesn't even really have a name yet. I mean, that's what's so fun about it, is like the pacing is slow but deliberate, which I really like. But yeah, this character makes a big impact in here. And then we have this is the 1 in 25 Rod Rice variant that we are selling for 30. But you just kind of see here, like the red one is going to be a very big player in this. So I definitely think this is primed to be a big book. I mean, you can tell from the marketing that Image has put into it that they have a lot of faith in this book, that this could potentially become one of the next big series. So still early enough to get on board with Radiant Black.
So next, I read Nightwing number 78. So like with a lot of other DC things, it is the return after Future State issue with a new creative team. It is now being done by Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo.
Yep.
Tom Taylor, I'm a big fan of. He's just really good at writing comics that are fun to read, are clear, but also have surprises.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can describe Tom Taylor. And so this issue of Nightwing, it was really, really good. Very eventful. A lot of things happen in it. You get to see some of Dick Grayson's past as a teenager. What happens when bullies come messing with people? How did he used to act back then? You get to see him get sort of chided about what happened with his parents. They bring that up. The Flying Graysons, they didn't end up too well, which is neat because that ties in with some of the ending. And then you also get to see Alfred, who you haven't seen in a long time because it's a flashback. But this is Alfred dealing with him as a teenager, and you see how Alfred was very much a surrogate father for him. As much as Batman, as much as Bruce Wayne trains him, who's the person who's really like looking after him and giving him sort of the non-superhero advice?
I was about to say, he's the one who like makes sure he's like, have you eaten today?
Yeah.
Like, Bruce Wayne doesn't have time for those questions.
Correct. So I really enjoyed those parts. And it also goes to the present day, and he gets a visit from Barbara Gordon, who is working as the executor for Alfred's estate. And she delivers him a letter, a last final letter from Alfred that is great. Like, if you read it, it is very heartfelt, just really, really good. And that's not all that happens in this. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't believe all the stuff in this one issue. The last thing, there is a new mayor elected in Bloodhaven, and it is someone that Nightwing is going to have to deal with, and he is not going to like. The only hint I'll give is the name Zuko, and that's it. So really cool issue. Here is the variant.
I'm excited to read that because it's been a while since we've had solid, like, classic Nightwing. And I feel like the way that the current Batman series is going, everything, they're setting up Gotham to kind of a new status quo that kind of feels like old style. Like, none of them are like, I've completely got this city under control. Like, they're both now kind of the like Batman the Animated Series thing, where it's like, we got to get from A to B, we got to do all this stuff, and I like when Dick Grayson is like that.
Yeah, in this issue, he actually explores in his mind a little bit about the differences between Bloodhaven and Gotham.
Yeah.
And how Bloodhaven, in his opinion, is worse.
Wow.
He's like, it's like Gotham, but a bit more cruel. I will also say there is a minor first appearance of what could be Dick Grayson's first pet.
Hey, that goes a long way, especially with like Ace the Bat Hound and stuff. Like the pets people get very attached to those.
Yeah, you don't want to miss that either.
Next up, don't have a ton to say about this, mostly because it's one of those books that has to be experienced. This is Superman Red and Blue. So much in the same way of Batman Black and White, this is uh, multiple Superman stories done with only red and blue for the most part.
I thought Superman was looking a little drowned on the cover there.
Yeah.
Like a little
Yeah.
blue in the gills.
So this is a anthology story. I feel like anyone who knows about Batman Black and White or Wolverine Black, White, and Blood or any of those, you know this formula of multiple stories that are there to highlight. Since they don't have as many pages, they kind of highlight an aspect of the character. The one that I really enjoyed from this one is the first one, which was by John Ridley, who's become a very well-known name now at DC and in comics in general. And it's an interesting story about. I don't say this is not in continuity, but this isn't current. So at this point, Clark Kent is still the secret identity of Superman. He hasn't revealed that in this story. And what does Clark Kent do when, as a journalist, he goes and speaks to a dictator who's done horrible things?
Right.
Now that the dictator's like moved on and everything, and Superman's like, I've got these hard hitting questions, and he kind of imagines if he doesn't answer a way, like a good way or something, he's like, should I like take him out? Like, it's Superman having to kind of contain himself and be like, I can't lash out, I can't do this, because maybe the more powerful thing I can do right here is write a hard hitting story rather than just laser beam this guy across the table.
Right. That sets a very sticky precedent if he just uses his powers to deal out justice that swiftly.
When people are like, oh, Superman's overpowered, it's like, he is in power set, but it's what he has to choose to do with his powers.
Yeah.
And what that means with him being kind of this like symbol of justice, he has to really maintain that and not go off the rails, which he really could. So I really like that story. I thought that was a very, I haven't read a story like this before that's mostly about Clark Kent, but I thought that one was really good. There's a few other stories in here, just with Superman saving people, really highlighting why Superman is important. But I thought it was good. Ones like this are if you like this story and you don't like the next story, well, there's another story. And this is going to be a mini series, so we're going to have multiples of these stories. There's always some really standout ones when they do things like this. There is a really nice Lee Bermejo variant for this one.
That's great.
Which, of course, they use red and blue. They also use a lot of gray and blacks and whites and everything to make it pop.
Okay, so the only King in Black tie-in that I will be going over this week is King in Black, The Amazing Spider-Man. So just so you know, this is a one-shot, so don't worry about signing up for it or looking for number 2 next month. King in Black is winding down, so they got all their Spider-Man in this issue. It begins with Spider-Man blaming himself. Well, why would he blame himself? Well, he's the one who brought the Venom symbiote back from the moon.
I love that idea.
Way back in Secret Wars. So, I mean, while this is all going on, he has a little bit of quiet time, and he is sort of thinking, I don't know if I really deserve to feel bad, but I do feel bad about all this. So to feel better, he sees a woman who needs saving. He decides, I'm going to at least save her. So this issue is not him fighting Null. It's not him fighting a bunch of Null forces, although he does fight some major stuff. It is about him trying to save one woman, one little old lady who it turns out is very critical of him. Once he gets to talk to her, it turns out she is not a fan of his.
That is such a Spider-Man story.
Yeah. So he's trying to save her. She is insulting him, but intelligently. It's not just J. Jonah Jameson insults here. So can Spider-Man actually do it? Can he save just this one woman through this issue that goes so far that it even ends up having some Moby Dick reference in it?
Wow.
So yeah, it's very, if you want to read something King and Black where you're not like in the thick of it, most of them you're in the thick of it.
Mhm.
This is that one. It's not really in the thick of it. They kind of go away and do their own thing, even though there is symbiote stuff
Mhm.
involved. And can Spider-Man save her perhaps with the help from Reptile, who
Hmm.
has been coming up
Yeah, a lot of
in
mentions
a
of
lot of
him.
mentions of him in comic news lately. So that is sort of my review of this issue. This it has two variants. The first is this is the Vincetti variant.
I like the kind of animated look of that one.
Yeah, you're right. It does have that. And then this, they're doing a series for Deadpool's 30th anniversary. So this variant was done by none other than Rob Liefeld himself.
Nice. Next up, we have a new book from Aftershock, The Bequest. So this is from Tim Seeley, who has worked on so many things. Hack Slash. He was the had written some of the recent He-Man and the Masters of the Universe series. He wrote Grayson and Nightwing for a while. Tim Seeley is just like your go-to guy for writing a series. And the art is by Freddie Williams III, who did the art on like He-Man Thundercats and a lot of stuff around there. This is a really fun story about what if you had your like D&D world and your like regular Earth world, and someone was trading weapons between the two.
Hmm.
What would that mean for each of them? Not just, our world getting magic stuff, but for the magic world getting chain guns and assault rifles and all this stuff. Even though you got magic, it takes you a while to figure out how you're going to deflect, this oncoming barrage.
Right.
So this follows. There's this kind of scientist character, calls himself Relic, and he is presumably from our Earth, and he gets together this war party of these characters you see on the cover to stop this man. Let's see, his name is Epoch, who is kind of black marketing these weapons back and forth, and he puts them in charge of trying to stop this guy. Well, there's some really interesting stuff that happens in this, like what if this kind of gang, this kind of street gang or whatever, got a magic wand, and so they're going through all these weapons. He's like, "What's this stick?" And this guy's like, "Oh man, you've not seen what these sticks can do." And he says something, just shoots a huge blast and everything. And then in the other world, you have this character Epoch getting together magical kind of potions or augmentations and giving them to some our world supremacists and being like, hey, you're going to be my army in this world. So there's some very crazy what if scenarios. I would say the magic world is definitely the D&D magic world. Like it will show you a character's name and it'll tell you their alignment, like evil or good or whatever, what their job is. Are they a rogue? All that, which is really fun to to see that, as far as even at the end there's character sheets for
That's
the
cool.
main characters,
That lets
which,
you know a lot about characters really quickly.
Yeah.
And you can break them into 6 or 7 stats and their alignment.
yeah, so this ragtag team has to figure out how to stop this kind of trade between the worlds. But you get some of those fish out of water moments too, where this guy Relic like flips on the TV and all the guys like pull up their swords and he's like, "Yeah, I thought we would have this." Like it's those classic like they come from a world of magic, but they don't understand this technology stuff. But done in a really fun way, not like the really tired way that some things do it.
I'm a sucker for stories like that. I gotta read that.
Yeah,
one later.
I like those kind of meshing.
Yeah, worlds colliding.
Yeah, the art is great. Freddie Williams is such a good artist and does this style, especially since he did all like the He-Man stuff. There's a lot of that, barbarians and elves and everything that show up here. I'm just scratching the surface of how deep this goes with the weird combinations of things and kind of how each side is dealing with kind of learning that there's this other world and everything. So really fun. Bequest from Aftershock. And we have one variant for it. This is the 1 in 15 variant that we at our store are selling for 15.
Okay, so this is really cool. This is Captain America's 80th anniversary tribute. It is a one-shot comic that, in a manner of speaking, it reprints Captain America Comics #1 and Avengers #4, where they first find Captain America and he wins a team. Now, I say in a manner of speaking because every page is done by a different modern-day artist or artist team. So, I mean, we're talking. There's got to be like 40 or so different people who worked on this book. It's really cool. They previously did this with Giant Size X-Men several months ago, and that was just great to read. I'm going to flip through this a little bit, but let me tell you some of the people who are in this. People like David Lapham, Salvador LaRocca, Margaret Savage, Peach Momoko, Inyoka Lee, Adam Kubert, Stephanie Hans, Chris Somney, Patrick Gleason, Alex Ross, Terry and Rachel Dodson, Adam Hughes, Greg Land, Mark Bagley. That's about less than half of the people that are in this book. So I have it out of the bag and board because I just wanted to show. And I have so much fun looking through these. It's so hard to do comics backwards. But pretty much every page is going to look a little bit different. This is my copy, so if it gets a little rough, it's all right. This is almost a way for you to blindly see if you can recognize artists just by their art. Andy and I were looking through this, saying which artist we thought it was. On top of that, you can kind of just see styles that you're like, I like that style more than that style, and start dissecting what style you like and why. I don't think we hit the Alex Ross page yet. Let me turn to that one.
No, it's you know it when you see it.
I know. Andy caught the Adam Hughes page pretty easily. I mean, this is just a lot of fun to read for that. So yeah, it's like you're turning through and you hit this page. Oops, wrong finger. Right here, and it's like, oh, I know who that is. So,
but it's like Captain America and also like an issue of Avengers.
It is. It's an issue of Captain America Comics #1 and Avengers #4.
Cool.
That's what it is. So it's a pretty big issue. It has this really awesome variant by Mark Brooks, updating that good old cover of Captain America punching Hitler. I mean, if you're into variant comics, I don't know why anyone would not want to get this one. I mean, right when I saw this, I was like, "Yep, I want that." Also, I'm just a big Mark Brooks fan.
I love on that one too. It's like nowadays they wouldn't do that little thing where it's like, and featuring Bucky. Yeah. But like with his art style, it's like, this looks so out of place, but when it's a redone version of the original one, it's really interesting.
I'm going to let that sit there. Let Captain America punch Hitler for the remainder of the show.
So the next one I am going to talk about real quick is this new book from, I believe it's a Blaze? Yes. Arrow's Psyche #1. This is from Maria Lovett, who has so many things going on right now with Luna. She had done Faithless and Faithless 2. Just so many like original stuff. Her style is very unique. And this is a really interesting book it's very dreamy, about a girl who goes to this, seems like a boarding school called The Rose. And just some weird stuff is going on there. Meets kind of another girl that seems like everything at the school kind of revolves around. But the art is great. If you know her art, it's a very unique style. It's a very mature book, but just in like thematic and storytelling ways. Like I said, very dreamy, almost a little poetry. I mean, not like the rhyming kind, but the kind of way it's narrated. But if you kind of like these like surreal, I wouldn't say Sandman, because I feel like Sandman is definitely more like meaty with its characters and everything, that kind of the way a page flows into another page, and it kind of creates this scene, and you wonder, is this real or is this not? But I really liked it. It's a pretty quick read, but it's a lot of fun. I think it's only maybe 3 or 4 issues long. It's pretty short, but also it has some really cool covers, like this one, which of course is an homage to Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
A really well done homage too.
It is.
I've seen so many homages to that, but that one.
Yeah, I know I think the next issue has a Pulp Fiction homage cover, which is going to be really cool too. And then we have, this is the 1 in 10 Mercado variant, which is really, really nice. So if you kind of like, definitely a more indie take on comics, definitely some magic involved. It seems like maybe some
That's what
witches.
I was going to say. Girls at a boarding school, that means either vampires or witches, usually witches.
Yeah.
Okay.
You get some very witchiness to it, but great tone, great mood for a book.
All right, I read Thor number 13, which is the thing that Donny Cates is doing over at Marvel that does not have anything to do with King in Black. Even though Thor's in King in Black, there is none of that in this series right now. This is the arc where Donald Blake has escaped from his prison, and he has instead put Thor in the prison, and he is going after everyone who has ever wielded the hammer, and is attacking them. He doesn't go after Jane Foster. So in the last issue, Jane Foster has discovered Odin.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't do spoilers for this, but I will do a spoiler for something that happened a month ago. She found that Odin is actually back alive, and he's hiding out in a bar just kind of crying in his beer, just feeling bad for himself. Well, basically, Jane has to try to get Odin to stop Donald Blake because nobody else can. Now, with Thor trapped in Donald Blake's realm, and the only way that he can get out being the staff used on Earth, and the staff is broken, how can he ever get out? Is there an alternative to that? You'll have to see what happens in this issue. And the other thing is somebody at the end of the issue gets very powered up. That's what I'll say. There's a big power up in it. This is not the end of the arc. The arc is going to end next issue. This kind of sets up for the ending. There isn't any major first appearance or major death or anything like that. It was still a very enjoyable issue to read. Donny Cates is a good writer. I think everybody who reads his stuff pretty well
They all know
enjoys
that
him.
at this point.
And he takes his time. This isn't an issue I flipped through quickly. So I enjoyed it. It's been a good read and a good way to read some Cates over at Marvel without all the King in Black nonstop. As great as that has been.
I was about to say, people keep being like, yeah, but is it tying in with King in Black? Donny Cates can be like, no, Nala's not in Thor. And people are like, but he is, right? It's like, no, you can actually read something that's not King in Black involved.
That's exactly it. So there is the two-tone variant by Michael Cho.
Classic Thor.
Yep. And then we are selling the 1 in 25 Klein variant for $25.
Homage to the famous statue.
Yep. And yes, the crows are in it.
I have really liked this story arc of Thor. I think it has been really good. I know a lot of people after like Black Winter are kind of like nothing can compare with that. But I think the stuff they've done with Donald Blake is revolutionary for this character. You know, it's crazy how they've taken this character, Donald Blake. It's always kind of been, since they've stopped using him, kind of just an afterthought or oh yeah, he used to do that, and turning him into like a piece of Thor lore.
And if you bring him back, it's like, you know, how are you going to bring him back as a hero? Bringing him back as a disgruntled villain who has a reason to be disgruntled is a lot more clever.
Yeah, because it's like, I don't like what he's doing, but you can kind of sympathize with, like, he got put in a really bad situation.
Yeah.
Next up, I wanted to mention real quickly that Invincible #1 is out. Wait, what? Is it 2005? No. But since the new show is starting later this month, Image has released a reprint of Invincible #1, but with a new cover by Ryan Ottley, series artist after issue 7. And it has some back matter in it that explores the TV show and kind of what some of the characters you're going to be seeing about them, and maybe some of the few tweaks they've made to characters. If you know the series as well as I do, you know, even on this cover, some costumes have been changed, some little tweaks here and there. But I just want to mention, if you haven't read Invincible, great place to start. Pick up #1, see if you like it, and then all the trades and compendiums and everything are available. I wish they did what they did with Walking Dead Deluxe and like
Redo every single issue.
Like, you don't have to, maybe do new covers and some other stuff. You don't need to. Maybe they just turn it all black and white and they do the reverse or something. But
as low as the print run was on a lot of that, I mean,
Mhm.
that's the only way people are going to get them in single issue without
Yeah.
breaking the bank.
yeah,
So almost everybody I know who reads Invincible reads it in trades, whether they want to or not.
it's probably sold so much more in trades than it ever did
Yeah.
single issues, because those first 7 or 8 issues, even up to like 20, are very pricey books.
Okay, so Jen Bartel is doing her series of covers for Women's History Month. And the 2 coming out this week, this is Spider-Woman, looking very snazzy. And then here is Patsy Walker, who's been looking snazzy since the 40s.
Yeah, she's one of Marvel's oldest characters. Few people know that, but
And then Michael Cho has been doing two-tones. So here's the Spider-Woman two-tone. It's coming out this week. And the Iron Man two-tone.
so many variant series going on right now at Marvel.
Yep.
Not to mention all of the Something Thing variants, and so much variants from Marvel. Let's see. I still want to mention, this is the same creative team as before, but Catwoman is back post Future State. Still looks like a great jumping on point. There is a lot of fun action in this. Catwoman might have to be saving the Riddler, which is really cool. There is possibly a new villain in it. At least a villain I haven't seen pop up anywhere before. So, really fun. Just, if you know Catwoman's attitude and everything, really spunky action, no nonsense, breaking through a lot of windows. So, check that out with the awesome variant.
Yeah, that's great. Is that Frizzen?
This is the Frizzen variant.
I thought. That's very cool. So Nocterra released last week, and I really liked it a lot. In fact, I got to read an advanced copy of Nocterra #2, and I liked it even more. So we'll talk more about that on another show. But releasing tomorrow, this is the glow-in-the-dark variant. And I wish I had the time and technology to turn off the lights and show you guys. I did take this into a darkened room because I never grew up. That's why I have a comic shop. I had to see right away. So where the O is lit, that glows. Her lantern glows. Well, it's not a lantern. It's what are those things?
Like a flare.
Yeah, her flare glows, and then of course the light on her head glows. So it did work. It worked very well. So I just didn't want anyone to miss out on this, just because this is sort of the A cover, but much cooler because it glows in the dark.
I feel like people going into a store and looking, like if this is right next to the A cover, they're like, oh, they have 2 stacks of the A cover.
Yeah, I know. We're going to label ours so people know that this is the special glow in the dark. I can't wait to tell people about Nocterra #2.
Mhm.
If you haven't read if you read #1, it's pretty good, but I need more. #2 gives you the more in every way.
Cool. I did want to mention that Star Wars: The High Republic #1. We are at our 4th printing, so everyone who made guesses, it doesn't seem to be stopping yet.
No.
I think my guess was somewhere around 7 or 8. So who's gonna win the big prize of a pat on the back?
I took home several of those. I mean, I'm sure they're going to do at least one more printing.
Yeah, and love all the different covers they're doing for #1.
Okay, so I want to show you guys this. This is one of the best covers of the week, but it's going to cost you a pretty penny. Marvel by Alex Ross. The last issue is coming out tomorrow. It's issue number 5. This is the Bermejo variant. I mean,
Could be cover of the year. I mean,
we only have one. We're selling it for $90 to anyone who has a pull list with us. But even if you don't, I mean, watch the show for the cool covers. We appreciate that. So
this is going to be a not a lot of places are going to get that cover.
No.
One, because if that was a number 1 variant, maybe people would go for it. But this is later on in the series, and they just put out this cover, and it's like, oh my gosh, the reflections of the fire on Silver Surfer
it looks great,
incredible. Also, that does have a story in it too by Bermejo of Silver Surfer.
I was looking through it. The interior art is incredible, and it changes styles throughout the issue.
The style that has like the 2-page like psychedelic,
like
so cool.
Yeah,
that's definitely going to be. I need to go back and find some of the earlier issues and be like, I want to see all the art styles that they're using. So we have, let's see, Star Wars Adventures number 4. We have the awesome B cover with some of the characters from Solo, but mostly want to show off this awesome 1 in 10 Francavilla black and white. I mean, it kind of looks nuts.
I really like that.
But you see like all the Wookiees on it and everything. Really, really cool cover.
What's in a Wookiee's mind?
Trees and his friends.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, the last one I have to show is Abbott 1973 sent us a 1 per store variant that is really cool. The more you look at it, the cooler it gets. We're selling it to people, our pull box, for $15. So just wanted to show that off. Wherever you shop, you might want to look for it.
And lastly for me, just want to mention that Truth and Justice number 2 is out this week. So this is the, I believe it's a digital first series, now being printed. Each issue kind of spotlights a different character and just tells you basically why the character is kind of worthy of that title of Truth and Justice. First one was Vixen, and this one, of course, is Superman.
All right, so that is our show for this Tuesday.
Ooh.
We do this every single week. We have a lot of new people watching our videos all the time. For some reason, we seem to be one of the only shops that likes to sit down and actually read all the stuff as soon as we can.
Yeah, that's just how eager we are.
Yeah, it's true. So we hope you enjoyed it, whether you watch it with us. We debut on Facebook Live just because it's easier to just film a live thing.
Yeah.
And then after that, we upload it right away to our YouTube station, which is just growing.
Mm-hmm.
Heading towards 700 subscribers now. We will be back on Friday for our show Comics from the Future, where we go over all the open order comics.
Yeah.
It's the best chance to see a lot of covers. First chance. We'll put up covers that an artist has put on their Twitter hours before. So that's every single Friday. And until then, have a great rest of your week and enjoy your comics.
See ya.